Right now, this week we need to start this Acme case study. Now, this case study will run through the end of semester. So this is the case study we are planning for all our models and everything. So you can actually apply the same concept what we learned in this case study to your own project work, right? Um, okay, let's read this case. And what they want is they ask us to develop the system vision document for an integrated service management system. So they already given what to develop. It's integrated service management system. It looks like a system with integrated mean there may be subsystems. Yeah. Right. So the for the system vision document, now let's make a small template. First, you know the system vision document. What the template looks like. I think if you go through the lectures, you will find it's first. We can give a heading like this is consolidated vehicle service management system, right? So consolidated vehicle service management system. So it's better we kind of first create that template so it's easy. So once we read the case study and then highlight the important stuff, probably we can transfer it to this particular document, right? So that is the main idea, right? Right. So in a system vision document, now let me put system vision document. Document. This is system vision document. Make it bigger. Make it let's say like this, so it's clear. So the first heading is system vision document is the problem description, isn't it? So we can say problem description, and then what's the second second important thing we need to list the system vision document, capabilities, or in other words system capabilities. Yeah, so system capabilities, and then finally business benefits, right? So business, right? So let's put nice heading so it will be easier for us to while reading put some notes on here, right? Okay, so this is the template, right? So this is the template we are going to use, right? Okay, now let's read the case study. Probably we may highlight some important parts while we're reading. Then we can elaborate it in the system vision document. Okay, so let's read this. So it says, now this is a garage, yeah. So garage, we expect some sort of vehicles to get repaired. Okay. So let's see what they are going to tell us. The Acme garage specializes in repairing vehicles or cars. The owner is the Jeff, who has worked in the field for many years and owns 3 garages around Victoria, right? So they have 3 garages, right? So I just highlighted that actually. Then I have kind of a and there are 30 full-time and part-time employees. So 30 employees looks like a little bit, you know, it's just reasonable size workplace, right? It's not 1 or 2 people, isn't it? Currently working in his business. So in the Lilydale location, there is Mary and Kim who looks after the customer inquiries. Okay, so Mary and Kim, there are two individuals there, so their main responsibility is to looking after customer inquiries, isn't it? So that is much I like to highlight that, because that looks like a kind of one activity they are doing, right? So customer inquiries, comma, maintain customer profiles. Maintain customer profiles. So they are creating, retrieving, updating, and deleting customer profile, right? So it looks like another one. Much better we highlight this stuff. And generate customer invoices. All right. So that is also part of activity. Right, and the process invoices and the payments. Okay, so they have given some of the stuff they are performing, right? So we captured that. So that is their, these two individuals. That's their main responsibilities. Looks like these are the kind of care functionalities or functions they are performing. Yeah. Um, and then we have Bill and Ben. They are the car mechanics, right? So I just highlighted that part as well. So we have mechanics, and then Peter looks after the ordering process. So we have the person called Peter looking after the ordering processes, right? So what do you mean by the ordering processes? Ordering means maybe they are ordering some parts or any resources they require to perform these repairs. Okay. So when the customers come to have their cars repaired, the initial contact is with Kim or Mary, so it is expected because they are looking after the inquiries, right? Before Kim or Mary accept their requests, they check the databases or database system to ensure any previous work that the customer has requested has been paid for satisfactory. Okay, that is one of the conditions, right? So if the customer comes, when they inquire, okay, I wanted to get repaired something. So the first thing they are checking actually whether the customer exists in the system, right? At the same time, they checks whether that if there it is exists, whether they have fully paid. Okay, so it looks like they are giving kind of some credit facilities to the customers as well, right? So that's a good thing for the business, right? So maybe they give 30 days or 90 days to get it paid, or installment basis get it paid if it is a higher cost repair. This can be generated by their current computer system. Okay, when customers' car registration number is entered into the computer, the system will provide the relevant feedback. Okay, if there are outstanding payment issues with the car registration number, the customer will be required to pay the outstanding bills, right? Before their new requests are accepted. Okay, so looks like now when you reading these few sentences, actually they're talking about inquiries, right? Custom inquiries, and then at the same time checking the customer details for the outstanding bills, right? So these are the important stuff. So what I will do is I highlight um, the important two things, because this inquiries and checking the outstanding bills, outstanding payment are the two things they have a token in this case. So let me highlight another important word there. Let's say paid. Okay, so let's put I will highlight this part. Okay, so there are two important things. Okay, right. So now let's jump here. The customer details are kept in the customer file, and the details of each job are kept in the job file under the car registration number, right? So when you read these two sentences, what they actually mentioning here is the files or the entities, right? Objects, right? Objects that they have at the moment, right? The one is called the customer file or custom object, and then the other one is a job file or whatever, right? So job. So let's say the job file, maybe some entities there, they are accumulating the details of the jobs. Or job means in this case the repair jobs, yeah. So they accumulate everything. Maybe they have kind of a file or entity that they can see what kind of um, um, resources this particular job has consumed, etc., etc., and how many labor hours, right? What is the overhead cost, and then what is the total cost, actual total cost we can calculate, and other required cost related information, right? So that's contained in the job file. Okay. Together now registration number probably is I would say what is the registration number in this case is the primary key, right? So they will use it as a primary key. If all is okay, Kim or Mary will accept the vehicle and pass the jobs to the mechanics, right? So now you can see, right, when you actually read this, you can imagine the activity diagram as well, right? So there is activity flow, and then you can imagine, right, there is a kind of a decision that they need to take if everything has been paid, and then it will direct the process into another direction, right? And then the job is coming to the mechanics, wheel and way. Okay. Right, so that's what the first paragraph, or for the second paragraph actually talking about. So we need to unpack these kind of stuff, small bits and pieces when you read the case study, right? That is the sole idea. That exactly the same process you can adapt to your case study as well, unpacking the stuff, right? Okay, now let's go through this third paragraph very carefully, right? So let's read it. So now they are talking about Bill and Ben, yeah. So they are the mechanics, right? So Bill and Ben. So this is they are talking about their activities. So they will check the car and identify the problem, right? So I'll highlight that. So that's kind of an activity they are performing, right? Parts required and estimated completion time. So they also identify what are the parts required, and then the estimated completion time. Okay, so there are three. They identify actually three things, right, for a particular job: the problem, resource required, the time required to complete. Right. So these three things. Okay. So these are three important variables. Probably they may require to generate a code for the custom, isn't it? So let's see. They will need to complete the forms which include all the relevant information and forward to Kim or Mary, who will check the lists and calculate the cost, right? So they are not calculating the cost, but the Kim or Mary will calculate the cost, right? So they will then call the customer for the confirmation. Okay? If customer agree, the Mary or Kim will notify the mechanics to go ahead with the repair car. Okay? So what they mean by that is it's the kind of, they're trying to generate some kind of a quote. Okay, some kind of a quote for the customer. Custom can agree or custom can reject it, right? Right, so that is something that probably we need to highlight something here. So I just highlight this part actually for the customer's cut. So I know that exactly right. Customer can reject or accept the quote. If customer agrees, Mary or Kim will notify the mechanics to go ahead with the repair. Right. So now, yeah, if it is yes, then the process going to another direction, right? So now we are going to start. If the customer rejected, then that's the end of that process, right? So we don't need to further get any action. So after the job is completed, labor hours and parts used are recorded in the job file, right? So these are the information. Labor hours, so I'll highlight that, and parts used, right? So these are the resources recorded in the job file. The mechanics will notify the Mary and Kim, who will prepare an invoice and call the customer to collect the car, right? So preparation of invoices, right? So that is a very important matter, important activity, right? And maybe perhaps when you develop the system, that capability is critical for this system, right? Preparation of invoices, right? And call the customers to collect the cars, right? Then customers can pay when they pick up the cars within 30 days. Now it looks like that is what they are saying, right? They are giving some kind of a credits, right? 30 days. Actually, I will highlight this. So they can pay when they pick up the cars, right? They can pay full, right? They can pay it full or within 30 days. Now, why I highlight these now? These are business rules, right? These are the business rules. So we need to actually somehow show these rules in our database as well as our processes. Okay? Remind emails will be sent to the customers a week before the due date. All right. So that means if they choose to pay within 30 days, right? Remind emails has to send, right? So that means that might be a very good functionality as well for our system. Okay, before the due date, a week before the due date. Okay. If payment is not made within the 30 days, the follow-up emails will be sent to the customers advising a 10% of penalty, right? So that means uh, follow-up emails need to be sent, and then there is a applicable 10% penalty is there if they not get paid within the due date. Now that's also very important, right? So to record those information. At the end of every week, the computer system will generate the reports, right? So end of every week, I highlight that part. It will generate some reports, right? So that is another, I believe it's a functionality that they will expect in any system that we are trying to develop, right? Generating reports. So what type of report they are expecting? They have given some examples of reports. Jobs and use parts report, then the customer payment report. Of course, these are the two important things, right? So jobs and use part report will give you how what is the cost, right, implication for the company. Okay, and then customer payment report, what is the implication for the revenue, right? So that is obvious for this kind of company. So cost, reducing cost, increasing the revenue. Okay, so that's might be the reason why they require these sort of consolidated, some kind of consolidated vehicle service management system, right? So let's unpack the other stuff as well, right? So we have unpacked some stuff here. So better to now jump to the next paragraph. Okay, so let's read the next paragraph. Acme needs to keep a stock of frequently used parts, examples, spark plugs, oil filters, air filters, etc. Okay, so looks like they are talking about what? They're talking about inventories. Yep. So let me highlight the word stock here, right? So they want to keep track of frequently used parts. which are purchased regularly from the suppliers, right? So they are manually, that means the suppliers are there, right? So if you create a database, we need to have a supplier entity link to our inventories, right? So then we can actually see who are the suppliers supplied which part of inventory. So that might be the reason why they have mentioned that, right? All right, now let's go through the other sentence. Acme suppliers are mainly local, however, some special parts for expensive vehicles or cars they also purchase from the overseas supplier. All right, so they are talking about two types of suppliers, right? So some suppliers are local suppliers. So I probably highlight that because some might be, sometimes it might be important, and there are some overseas suppliers. I'll highlight that part as well. The computer system will monitor the stock level automatically. Now they are talking about that, right? So that means they definitely needs some capability about the inventory management, simply, right? So monitoring the stock level is what they actually expect in the inventory management system. So I just highlight that as well. So I don't want to skip any of these important parts from my side, so that's why I highlighted the important phrases or words, whatever. For those parts from the local suppliers where the inventory level drops down to quantities of 3, then the notification will be sent to the detail, right? Right, so that is a kind of a business rule for the local suppliers, right? All right, so let's think about that. Local suppliers, when the inventory level drops down to the quantities of 3, right? So let's highlight that rule. So that means if a component comes down to 3, right? Then the system needs to send a notification to the stock control. He is the one who is managing the stock, right? So the notification, so it's like automatic notification to the email, right? Saying, okay, stock level has been dropped down for 3. Maybe in that email we need to mention what kind of stock, what kind of inventories, and then we need to specifically say this is the local source part, right? Local source part. Okay. Local state past. Um, Sorry guys, just 1 minute. Okay. Right now let's go through this. Quantities. Okay. Notification will be sent to the Peter who supervises the ordering process. The Peter has to contact the suppliers and lodge a replacement order. Right. The PT has to contact the suppliers and lodge a replacement order. Okay, all right. So that like yeah. So the ordering process handled by the PT anyway, right? However, the for those parts from the overseas suppliers, so they are talking about now overseas suppliers. The notification will be sent when the inventory level drops to quantity of 5. Right now, that is a special a different business rule. So when the quantities um, drops to quantity of 5, the inventory level drops to quantity of 5, um, is where we start the ordering process for the overseas suppliers, right? So I just highlighted that. Less frequently used parts are ordered as required, right? So less frequently used parts, that means occasionally maybe the oil filters, etc., etc. or not the oil filter, maybe the bigger ones, right? Less frequently, so maybe more expensive ones are ordered as required, right? So there is no restrictions for that. So these two business rules are important, one for the local suppliers, one for the overseas suppliers, right? Once they have reliable supplier, they tend to stick with them. So they only ever have one supplier for each part. Okay, right? So they actually don't want to maintain many suppliers for a single part. So they just wanted to maintain only one very good, reliable supplier for each part. That's what they are talking about here, right? So it's not that important for the system perspective. That is the business decisions that they need to make. Okay. Supply details are recorded and filled in the database, so we know obviously. So they want to keep track of suppliers. In the case where the stock is ordered, details of the order are recorded in the order file. So they have order file, supply order file. So let's highlight that. Probably we may need it. Peter works in the office and maintains the ordering process. So we know that he's the one who's ordering the supplies. All parts are recorded in the database part file, right? So they have parts file. So I will highlight that because that might be required. The parts database should be identified to the supplier, allowing the Peter to create, add, update, delete, and modify both suppliers and parts table. So that means if you have the inventory or the parts file, so we need to link it with the supplier, so we know exactly who is supplying which parts. That is what it mentioned, right? So if you design the entity relationship diagram, these are the business rules we need to actually implement, right? Okay. Right. So the next one, if ordered parts haven't arrived within 10 days, okay, the system automatically notify the Peter. Right now, looks like another business rule that we need to actually implement in the system, right? So I highlight that. Who will contact the supply immediately. Okay. The computer system will generate several reports by end of each month. Okay, so again, now this is the second type of report, right? The first type of report is related to the customers and the costs, right? The second type of report is a report regarding the parts, right? So let's highlight. So these reports are generated at the end of each month, not the end of each week, because earlier the reports are generated at the end of each week, right? Now they have given some example of reports they wanted to produce. Ordering parts with the suppliers, delivered orders, unpaid invoice reports, unfilled order report, etc., etc. These reports will be sent to ACME's owner Jeff. A copy of all the orders is stored in an order file, right? A copy of all in order file, where the invoices and the parts are checked again, the goods received, and are then attached to the order. Okay. So again, they are talking about how the activity is concentrated order, right? They want to recheck when the orders comes, when the order receives, so they want to recheck whether they have received the correct parts with the correct supply. Probably I need that one. Probably maybe I may highlight something. This part, so here invoices and parts are checked again, the goods received, probably that might be important. If everything is correct, then the Peter will update the order and stock details on the system, right? He will then pass the invoices, including the cost of the parts, to Mary or Kim, who is looking after the accounting and the payments, right? Okay, so these after check it, then the payment has been done by the Mary, right? So, so the payments, I just highlight that done by the Mary or Kim. Actually, I highlight the Mary or Kim as well. So they are the one who is doing the payments. Sometimes, because why I highlighted that, because remember in the activity diagram we need to identify who is performing what, right? Then the next one, Mary or Kim will pay the invoices within the 10 days after delivery. All right, so there's another business rule actually involved in a payment for the supplier. So that is actually very important, right? So within 10 days after the delivery, right? If invoices haven't been paid in the 10 days, the auto notification will be sent to their email to remind them that the orders are outstanding, right? Okay, so then again, automatic notification need to be sent um, to for the Kim or Mary that payments are outstanding. At the end of the month, the system will generate reports on invoices paid during the month. Okay, there's another type of report. So end of the month, the report is on invoices paid. Right, sometimes a bit confusing, right? There are two types of invoices, right? We are issuing invoices to the customers, right? And then the invoices that we receive from our suppliers need to be get paid. There are two types, right? Don't mess this up, okay? Because they are talking about invoices. Now these are the bits and pieces actually sometimes very give us a big headache at the end if we don't clarify these stuff, right? When you go to the real life project, this will happen. So these are the things we need to really need to be clarified beginning before we start anything. Okay? So these invoices are supply invoices. The parts list will be during the month, the parts list which details the names of the parts, quantities, single cost, and the total cost. So this is a part list. So the part list also they need to actually generate as well, and then the class list they need to include these other attributes, right? Name of the parts, quantities that they have ordered, the cost per unit, and the total cost, right, for that particular part. So they get a kind of an aggregate value. Do we need to record these total cost in the system? No, we can generate it, we can calculate it, right? But of course, cost per unit, quantities, and these things has to be derived from the system itself, right? Right, now the last section. Most of the data entry involves simple business transactions, recording customer information, job information, parts information, supply information, managing orders, receiving payments, and making payments. As mentioned previously, a variety of information is extracted from the system through the inquiries and the generation of periodic reports. This information is used by Jeff, the owner of the garage, to manage the business. Right, so that's it. So that is about the case study. So when you read this case study, now you, I think, we have kind of a better idea what's going on, right? So there are so many processes involved in. If I summarize what has happened here, the customer comes in, they made an inquiry, we need to give the quote for the customer, then if the quote has been accepted, then we need to start the repairing the vehicle, right? So to generate the quotes, mechanics will be they are the one who is telling the Kim and Mary the cost involved, labor involved, etc., etc., right? and then we need to accumulate the costs to in a database, and then once it's finished, we tell the customers, okay, job has been finished, you can pick up the vehicle, and the customer can elect to pay for the vehicle on the spot, or maybe they will give a 30 days credit. If they're not paid within 30 days, then there is a penalty, and then also we are going to send some reminders. Okay, and then we need parts to repair, so we need to keep inventories very well, right? It's handled by Peter, and then we sourcing the inventories from local suppliers or foreign suppliers, right? And then there are a bunch of business rules regarding the inventory management process. At the same time, we need to generate number of reports for this particular company, and then inventories or the supplies need to be paid, and there are some certain business rules involved in that payment as well. Right, so that's basically they are talking about in this particular scenario. So I think you have kind of an idea uh, what we already highlighted the stuff. Now the time, now we can actually generate the system vision document, right? All right. So in the system vision document, if you go to the system vision document, so these are the three things we need to fill, right? So we need to exactly identify the problem, right? Actually, do they have the problem in this case? Probably. Problem is they haven't actually highlighted the problem very well. Right? There's no problem at the moment. It's like more disintegrated information, right? So activities are performed by different sections of the company, or different, I would say, departments in this particular garage. And they are looks like manual, but there are some computer system as well. So looks like they wanted to generate fully automated system, right, to handle these business processes. So integrated system to handle these business processes, right? So what is we need to mention in the problem description, because this is a garage, right? This is a garage. So what is important in a mechanics kind of this garage kind of situation is two things, I would say. When I read this, it has to be highlighted to you as well. A time, right? The time fraction is very important, because time is important from the customer's point of view, and as well as the company's point of view, because more the time you spend in a particular job, it will increase the cost of that particular job, right? So how the business going to manage the time, and then the same time how they going to manage the quality of the repairs, because that is very important, right? This kind of business, quality of the repairs done is really vital. So how are you going to maintain that quality, right? Can we maintain the quality? Of course, the quality cannot be judged by the system, but it will assist the management, or even the mechanics, to keep track of the parts they have used. Then they can find out, okay, how you're going to enhance the quality of a particular job, right? So two things. So vehicle repair service businesses are very critical in these two things, time and the quality of the jobs, right? So we need to mention that in the problem description, and then we can say yeah, reducing the service downtime and planning the service resources um, is very important matter in the service, these kind of service businesses. So because we need to manage the mechanics time as well, because if you don't manage the mechanics time, it's a cost, labor cost, right? High labor cost involved in that. So by having the consolidated service management system, it can be, you can say, it ensures the repair business can function properly and allow management to use one system to perform all the activities more without having any issue, right? So some kind of something like that we need to mention in here. So you can mention in here in the problem description little bit of the industry. So you can say the vehicle um, repair service services um, all about time and the quality, right? Time and the quality, we need to maintain these things, right? So it's very important the business to reduce vehicle repair cost, or manage the repair cost, right? So we can say it's very important. Um, important maybe we can say important to reduce. So I'm just telling the give you some points, but you can, you know, when you write it, you need to describe it a little bit more, right? So it is important to reduce service downtime, I would say, and plan the service resources, right? So service resources means the labor cost, the labor plus um, the components, right? And even to manage the equipment actually, right? Because there are so many equipments used in the service vehicle service business, so we need to have a sort of, because they haven't mentioned about the equipment, but eventually that's what they need, right? Manage these three things. So cost of the labor, cost of the components, cost of the equipment used, because equipment has to be properly utilized. Now if you can manage the jobs properly, or streamline the jobs properly, I would say, it will actually we can utilize our equipment more efficiently, okay? Probably that might be a one important thing that you can mention. Um, so therefore we need a kind of uh, um, we need a consolidated system, right? We need a consolidated system to achieve these sort of benefits, right? So right, that so you can mention that in the problem description, right? So in your case study, probably I expect think a little bit more, maybe I would say half a page description. Maybe you can actually describe point form. Maybe you can mention like these kind of points, and then maybe couple of sentences, little bit elaborated. Okay, little bit elaborated, so it will be very clear for anyone who reads it. Okay. Okay. That's about the problem. And then we need to actually come up with some system capabilities, right? So these are the high level capability system capabilities. Because you can't have very detailed system capabilities as at initial state. So you need to you can identify only the high level details, right? What do you mean by the system capabilities, by the way, guys? This is actually called the functionalities, right? System functionalities, right? System function, that is what we mean by capabilities. Right, so what are the capabilities you have noticed in this particular business? Because we already highlighted, right? So it's very easy, right? So if you read this and if you highlighted this stuff, you may have noticed, right? So the one of the capabilities, I guess, that this system might request is how to generate the codes, right? Generating code is very important, right? Actually generating a code is important, but it can be a part of service request. So if you have kind of a process to manage the service request, or scheduling and managing the service request, probably generating code is very easy because it's a part of sub process, right? So because once you give the code, and if it is accepted, and it has to be part of your scheduling service, right? So that might be the first capability that we would like to establish in this system, because it's very clear when you read the first two paragraphs that capability has to be there, isn't it? So so I can mention that somewhere here. Maybe the capability, I say, okay, number one, maybe I would say we need scheduling and scheduling and planning service requests, right? Including quotes, including quotes for the customers, isn't it? So that particular system or subsystem should provide the capability to generate quotes for the customers, I would say, right? So that is very important. That's what they mention in here, right? What else we need to mention in here? So that is actually that, and then and at the same time, actually, we can maybe we can um, maybe we can include something related to the bookings, right? Service bookings, if the customers can book the vehicles by themselves rather than coming physically to to the Kim or Mary, maybe we can have kind of a system, online booking system, so the customers can do the booking by themselves, and even Kim and Mary can book by themselves if the customer visited the site, right? Maybe that might be an interesting capability that we might include, which is actually apart from the scheduling. Okay, maybe actually that might be the first one before the scheduling, but yeah, but it's okay. So let's put the second um, booking car services or car repairs or whatever, right? So I just put stroke repairs. Yeah. So that is something that we might include, which they have discussed here. So all these outstanding bills and etc., checking the registration number, probably the part of the booking system or booking subsystem, right? You can handle that. We don't need to handle that in somewhere else because it's part of that business process. So obviously it has to be a part of this booking system. Yeah. Right. So what else? Right. Then and then what they do is they once it get repaired, the customers need to pay, right? So they are actually talking about invoice generation, right? Isn't it? Payments, invoice generated, customer payment. Probably we can handle that in another subsystem. We can say oh, it is another capability. In other words, we can say generate invoices, right? Generate invoices. Yeah, that's another thing that they like to actually implement. and then all these payments and outstanding stuff, everything can be handled by that as well. Right then, and then when we come that other part, so this accumulating the costs and everything, probably we can put under the scheduling and planning service, right? Cost accumulation, so we don't need a separate one there, because this is a high level, right? These are the high level functionalities or capabilities. Right, so let's jump there. So we probably so this report generation, probably maybe I might include another one here, generate reports, right? So they need various report. I might maybe at this moment I will actually put as another important capability to generate report, but when we designing this system, this might be a part of another subsystem, but we don't know at this moment. But I like to highlight that, right? For any case, let's see how we goes. And then so when we come to the next part, then they're talking about the inventory management. So definitely inventory management is another inventory management is another functionality or high level functionality they expect from this system. Simply they're talking about that there. So that is something. And then inventories, and then they are talking about the suppliers. So they need to monitor the suppliers and the payment to the suppliers, etc., etc. Maybe it might be a part of the inventory management system, but I would actually like to have another system or subsystem to manage part suppliers separately, because if you have that capability, probably it might be easier for the person who, or Peter, right? Peter is the one to manage them efficiently, because they definitely like to get some probably better uh, component prices from the supply, so better to have a separate system for that. And then they generate some reports here as well, right? Inventory related reports, and then payment related reports, etc., etc. So I need not to have another report generation process, because I already have a process which handle the reports for the customer. So maybe probably maybe we can actually here mention generate reports regarding customers, inventories, and suppliers. Right. So those stuff can be handled by from that subsystem. Right. I think do we miss anything more? Any other stuff? Right. I think that's it. Right. So that's these are the six, I believe, or five high level capabilities that we should include in any potential system we are going to developing for this business, right? So these six capabilities, right? So we identify the problem now, right? So in order to overcome the problem, these are the capabilities we need to establish, right? Then once we establish these capabilities, these are the business benefits this company will receive, right? Now we need to identify the benefits, right? So more little bit high level benefits. So how do you identify those benefits? Okay. Right. So it's obvious now. Now it's very clear, right? Once you implement this, what are the business benefits we are getting? We can say the first business benefit is at the moment they didn't have a kind of any proper scheduling of servicing their request, right? How the request can be properly managed, right? So we can say it will definitely improve or improvements improvements in improvements in scheduling service requests. Definitely, that might be the much better business benefit that they will receive by implementing this scheduling part, right? Um, then what else? Um, um, so what are the other things? We can increase mechanics uh, um, time more efficiently. Right, efficiently. Actually, this will lead to a decrease in labor cost. Isn't it? That's another business benefit, right? So we can highlight that. What else? Um, uh, so then we can handle the payments more efficiently. Customer payments mean we, let's say, handle receipts or accounts. We would say accounts receivable. Accounts receivable. Because if you have a better system, we can identify outstanding credits, right? Outstanding credits, because customers are given 30 days payment. Otherwise, we need to send reminders, follow up, etc., etc. This actually improves our accounts receivable process, right? That might be the bigger business benefit, right? Um, then better customer satisfaction, better customer satisfaction, because now we may implement something that they can book the service online as well, as I mentioned before, and then the quality of the service will be improved, because then because we have the system that we can efficiently manage servicing and parts requests, and even the labor, right? So that will definitely give some added value for the service we delivered for the customers, or the customers will, and customer satisfaction will be enhanced. So you can mention that there. And then definitely efficiencies in or efficient inventory management, um, um, efficient inventory management process. That is another business benefit. Then what else? And then actually improve. We can improve supplier relationship as well, right? Because once we identify the suppliers, so that is what they need. They don't want to have too many suppliers. They want to have limited suppliers, very good quality source suppliers. They need to enhance that relationship, right? So this definitely this inventory management system, together with the payment system, because if we can pay the suppliers within that stipulated time on time, then definitely we can improve the supply relationship, right? um, that's a part of the system benefit. And then actually finally uh, we can generate business intelligence, uh, um, because now we have some integrated management system. We can generate business intelligence, so long-term uh, decisions can take very quickly. Um, uh, right. Right. So I believe these are the business benefits that this particular. Maybe you can think about something else. So these are things I just think more important in this sort of context, right? So it's very clear, isn't it? So we identify the problem, right? And then we identify the capabilities, and then we identify the benefits, right? Right. So this is so how we have done this. We unpack the case study part by part, section by section. We highlight the important parts, right? Uh, so once you have done that, the rest is very easy, because then we have kind of, now this is the document that you will say, right, all right, so you may have three group members, so four group members in your team, right? So one person can probably look after maybe these two functionalities as a part of their subsystem, right? And then the other group member probably look after these two functionalities in their subsystem, right? And the third group member maybe think, okay, I'll take care of these two, right? Okay, so that is how you need to do, right? So once you identify this, and then we individually we build the components, because now remember, all these stuff, all these functionalities need to have a link with each other, right? Now you have seen that the Mary and the Kim actually doing the lots of work, I mean scheduling to the supplier payment, right? So whoever doing managing suppliers and inventories need to have a link with this part, because this is handled by Mary and Kim, right? Plus the mechanics. Okay, so so that means so you need to have a kind of a have a um, discussion each week, uh, what kind of information you are producing and how you are inputting that information, what are your output of the information, how the other team members utilize that information in their system, etc., etc. Then ultimately at the end of this semester, I may have a better idea, right, how this integrated system works, right?